I think people in 2025 are well aware how sausage is made.
The Kansas City Chiefs have taken Josh Simmons with the 32nd pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. That page has turned now for us. I know we're very excited about pick 32, and the Chiefs still have plenty of draft capital to work with as they navigate the board for day 2. What's up, everybody? Kent Swanson here with Matthew Lane. Having a great time here at Holiday Distillery, an absolutely incredible host for all of our shows here this weekend for KC Sports Network. And a reminder, we are here for every single pick of the 2025 NFL Draft as it relates to your favorite football team, the Kansas City Chiefs. And yeah, we're really excited about the Josh Simmons pick. I think that's one that we've all loved, though there's one that we've been very excited about, very hopeful for, and the Chiefs get their guy.
Great pick, A++, but we're not here to talk about Josh Simmons. We've done that. You've listened to that. You've heard us talk about it. We don't need to talk about that anymore. We're here to get you ready for Friday, day 2 of the NFL Draft, the day that a lot of people say the draft is won or lost.
Yeah.
Right? This is where it is. And the Chiefs, as of right now, 3 picks today, right? We're looking at 62, 63, 66, 95.
Yeah.
Boom. I nailed it. All 3 of those picks are the Chiefs coming at you today. So we are going to start today looking at the best players still available, maybe some targets for the Chiefs to whether they pair with Joshua Simmons, they play off of him, whatever it is. But this podcast isn't about Joshua Simmons. We are looking at the best players available. So I just want to start off with you. BJ asked me this question when we were doing our live stream. Those that were still here heard that. Who to you is the most surprising player that wasn't picked? If you need me to pull up a thing,
it's Will Johnson. I mean, it's Will Johnson for me. And
like,
I know
that doesn't make sense.
It makes sense now, I think, when you get, the confirmation of how bad the medical is, because like there's lying season leading up to the draft and you don't really know exactly what's going to happen there and whether or not that stuff's real. Will Johnson not being picked is probably the biggest surprise for me. It's confirming, and like there was reasons for him falling, very obviously. It's got a lot to do with the athletic testing, and it's got a lot to do with the concerns about the knee. I think the tape justified being in the top. Yeah, everything. The tape was justifiable, but the medicals were confirmed essentially tonight that they were bad. And so that was surprising from that perspective, that it just, all the way out means they are really bad. So like that was a big one. Mike Green, understandably out of the first round too, and it's confirming some issues, right, that he does have in his past. And I think it kind of supports that he's out, that it is something that is at least a little bit of concern for NFL teams, because again, the tape is probably top 20 if you're asking. So I would say those are 2 of the players that I would be the most surprised are out. Anybody else, I think, for you, Matthew?
Donovan Ezeroko, by all intents and purposes, he was a very good character player.
Yep.
I think he has a really good pass rush repertoire. He's got a lot of moves. He understands how to win. He plays really hard versus the run. So you want to tell me that I understand why Will Johnson doesn't go, because of the athleticism, because of the health concerns, stuff like that? Yeah, makes sense. Mike Green, because of the history, like the past that he's got going on, I understand. I don't know about Ezeraku. Like, he feels like a guy that probably should have gone round 1. If I'm being honest with you, like just straight up, he feels like he fits into round 1. Mildly surprising, Nick Imanwari, safety out of South Carolina, super freak athletic tester. It feels like 2 years ago, the NFL is pouncing on that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've just seen enough of those guys fail when they don't have actual good tape and they just test really well. I feel like we've had enough of those guys fail. So I'm mildly surprised, but not a ton. So like, I feel like round 1, I don't want to say it was chalk. There wasn't 0 surprises, but the quote unquote surprises make sense. I can come up with rational, not excuses, but reasons why guys didn't go, besides Donovan Ezeraku, but anybody ran out of players, right? Only 32 guys can go. I can't put 33 players in the round 1 as much as I try.
Yeah, and if you're trying to figure out who he goes instead of too, like I think you play you play that game a little. Yeah, it's like James Pierce, but James Pierce's tape was probably justifiably a little bit better from a pure speed rusher perspective. Okay. Yeah, I think so. If you're looking for that specific type.
We don't want to debate on this podcast.
No.
I disagree. I think Donovan's tape was definitely better. He actually won in multiple ways. James Pierce won in exactly one way, but that's besides the point.
That way was pretty good.
Yeah, it was. So maybe you get somebody that wins in a different way when you already drafted Jalen Walker.
Okay,
so this isn't a dunk on the Falcons podcast. Let's go somewhere else.
No, let's move forward a little bit, because now we're kind of focusing a little bit on what's going to happen on Friday and trying to figure out how the Chiefs can, kind of do this, right?
Sure.
If you are looking at the Chiefs, I think you need to start here, because the Chiefs just took care of their biggest, I think, concern for me on their roster. And they've got extra draft capital that they didn't have to use. And they actually even accumulated more draft capital on Thursday night. They got an extra
great
fifth-round
job
pick.
by Brett Veach.
Tremendous
Everybody
job.
says, oh, don't answer the phone from Howie. He always wins. What did Howie win here, right? Like, let's say worst case scenario, Giant Campbell ends up better than Joshua Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Chiefs didn't want a linebacker. They wanted an offensive tackle. The Chiefs won this trade no matter what happens because they picked up more capital to take the same guy they were going to take regardless.
Yep.
The Chiefs won this trade no matter what happens from here. The Chiefs won this trade from their standpoint, right? So great job by Brett Veach. Round of applause for Brett Veach.
Absolutely.
He did a great job on round one. He understood the board. He understood what was coming to him. He didn't try to trade up when there was clearly teams trying to trade back. They go get the guy they wanted. They understood exactly what was happening. Fantastic job by Brett Veach and his team. Everybody in the Chiefs front office did a fantastic job working this. No matter what plays out from here, they did a great job.
So now they sit there with 3 picks on Friday. They sit with now 4 picks, or 5 picks actually on Saturday.
Yeah,
and they have some flexibility to move up and down the board. I'm going to ask you this off the top. You look at pick 63 and you look at pick 66. That's enough draft capital to get you all the way up to pick 38 if one of these teams is willing to move back. So that's only 6 picks into the first round. Is there any player that you're willing to give up pick 63 and 66 for to move up?
Listen, I get it. I write the article. I know what it says. Mike Green is not a Steve Spagnuolo edge rusher on paper. Mike Green, shorter arms than Steve Spagnuolo likes. A little bit lighter than Steve Spagnuolo likes. He plays with so much violence. He plays with such an attitude that I think he hits the Mike Dana threshold of it just makes sense. And you add on the fact that he has one of the better pass rush plans. He understands how to set up moves. He gave Ohio State hell as an edge rusher off the right side, not against Joshua Simmons because, he didn't want that smoke.
He didn't want it.
He gave that right tackle hell off that right side. It's just, I would get it. I don't know if I'm going to pound the table for giving up both those picks. I kind of like having both those picks together. Mm-hmm. Using one of them with something else to move up a little bit less makes sense. Using both, Mike Green's kind of the guy that I'm or Luther Burden. You know what? They got my left tackle. Yeah. They protected Patrick Mahomes. You want to go draft your 18th slot wide receiver? Go ahead. I think there's a chance for Luther Burden. I am absolutely okay with either Luther Burden or Mike Green in a small trade up.
Yeah, no.
No passing notes in class.
That I think I would be willing to do that at this point, for one of those guys. Like,
would you trade up for anybody else?
I think that's about.
Would you trade up for Will Johnson?
I don't know if I would at this point. If he had enough that was keeping him from falling out of the first round. Like,
here's a question for you. The Chiefs are saying that they don't think Will Johnson's going to be there. Cornerback's not a priority need. What if they just didn't do enough work? What if they just don't know, right? Like, do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah.
I think people think NFL teams have all this figured out, but what if they just don't know where his medicals are sitting right now? Now, they have the entire night to figure it out. They can call in all the favors they want of teams that have met with him. And so maybe, Buckholder's a friend with somebody else who did meet him and they can get all the info they need, right? I'm sure that's possible. It's just, what if they just don't have enough information to feel comfortable trading that kind of capital for a Will Johnson? So, maybe there's some guys like that is that situation. But I just didn't know if there's anybody else that you felt comfortable trading up for.
No, I don't think so. That aggressively, I'm not sure that anybody else sits on the board that I think would make any sense at that point. Now there's another kind of a logical jumping off point when you're looking at some of the best player available. And I think it's a little tricky right now because I think day 2 is going to be chaos, especially since I think round 1 was more settled than I think we thought. Day 2, I think, could get really wild. And I think this is where you're going to start seeing the boards just go all over the map. You're going to start seeing a lot of these boards just kind of going different places. It's tricky to pin down how far up you have to get for a certain player, right? So, I'll use JT Tuimoloau, the edge.
That's not how Todd McShay pronounces it.
It's not how Todd McShay pronounces it. And Todd, I love Todd. you'd have to get up, like if the Chiefs wanted to surrender picks 30 or 63 and 95, if they did that for JT Tuimoloau, how would you feel if they surrendered picks 63 and 95 to get up for JT Tuimoloau, the edge out of Ohio State?
I'd get over it pretty quickly, I think, but I don't know if he's the type of defensive end compared to the rest of this class that I think you got to trade those picks up for, right? Like if I'm sitting here, I'm going back to like my horizontal board here. He is the best after we get past Mike Green and Donovan Izaraku, who we've talked about. He is next up for me. He comes up next for me, then Landon Jackson from Arkansas, Nick Scorton from Texas A&M, Jordan Birch. I think there's those three guys to me kind of make sense. And if we want to include some defensive tackles, Darius Alexander would kind of enter into that range. So I think there's enough defensive linemen that I don't know if I would feel great about sending that kind of capital for him, but I wouldn't be against it. And I think he is a very Spags. Like I said, Mike Green's a little bit off the Spags beaten path. He is very much JGT is very much a Spags defensive end. So yeah, I'm down with that. I don't know if I'd love the trade up, but I'm down with targeting him in this round.
Yeah. Hey, what positions what's the next position you'd like to see the Chiefs prioritize?
Give me a pass rusher, not just defensive line, but give me a pass rusher. And I want an offensive weapon, running back, wide receiver, tight end. I want somebody else to help Patrick Mahomes get the ball out of his hands, make big plays, do stuff like that. But then I also want a pass rusher. I want somebody else to pair with Chris Jones, Charles Omenihu, George Karlaftis to make plays against the opposing team's quarterback. It's the NFL. It's a quarterback-centric game. You either make plays with your quarterback or you stop the opposing quarterback from making plays. I want players that impact all of that. I do think there's a chance that a running back can also get in that. So you want to tell me Quinshon Judkins is sitting there at pick 63? Please. Get up there to that podium and take it. We'll go back-to-back Ohio State. I'm not afraid. It worked for Philly.
Let's get all the Ohio State. Let's get JT Tuimoloau.
Okay, let's not go overboard here. We don't need that many Buckeyes, but
why wouldn't you want champions? I don't know.
It can't be Michigan. We'll lose the Chargers every year.
Yeah, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Are you ready to win some real cash during the basketball playoffs? Well, check out Pick 6 from DraftKings. When it comes to basketball payouts, DraftKings Pick 6 posterizes the competition, and yeah, that includes prize picks. Hit all of your picks and score higher minimum payouts on Pick 6, plus even more cash if you outscore the competition. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. New players get 50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Here's what you gotta do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offers. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Looking at the board for the Kansas City Chiefs as they are going to make 3 selections or have 3 picks allotted to them on Friday night for the 2025 NFL Draft. Pick 63, pick 66, pick 95 currently on the board, and also accumulating a few more assets to help them potentially move and maneuver the board a little bit. Matt Lane, we talked a little bit about looking at some pass catcher options, making an offensive weapon, and just kind of taking a look at this board. And I just wanted to run through some of these with you real quick. At the tight end position, we'll start there. Mason Taylor still on the board for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I watched Gladiator 2 on the plane today, so I'm going to give you these answers in thumbs up or thumbs down.
Well, that's not going to do great for audio.
I'm saying it as I do it.
Well, I was going to ask you, would you move up for Mason Taylor?
I'm not moving up for any offensive weapon besides Luther Burden.
So what you're kind of hoping for at this point is just whatever offensive weapons fall.
I think they're all pretty similar besides Luther. I think Luther Burden has a different level of ceiling versus everybody else. So I would consider moving up for him. Everybody else I have bunched into the same level. If I'm looking kind of here at, again, my board, I do have Jaden Higgins and Luther Burden in the same bucket, but I do think that Luther Burden is at the top, Higgins is at the bottom. I think there's a little bit of a difference there. So Luther Burden is the only player, offensive weapon, that I would move up for, but I will tell you how excited I would be for the rest of them, or you can tell me if you would move up for them.
No,
I kind of killed your game, so we can switch it up.
No, actually, it's fine. We can kind of move on from that point a little bit, but like Mason Taylor, I think is one I would consider moving up for, just because he's still 20 years old. He's going to be 20. He turns 21 on May 8th. This is a young player with an NFL pedigree. This is a guy that has a legitimate ability in the passing game, a giant frame, a natural hands catcher. I think he's a good future for the Kansas City Chiefs at the tight end position, a position that Patrick Mahomes is valued, and you don't know how long Travis Kelce has left. What better person for Travis Kelce to help teach than a Mason Taylor? I think he would be a fun addition to that room and a good mentor for Taylor. And that's a fun idea now that you've gotten the tackle position taken care of. So
I like the player. I just don't know if there's enough dynamic playmaking ability to be worth trading multiple day 2 picks to go get.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to tell me they trade this 5th round pick that they just got from the Eagles plus 62 to go up a little bit to get him, sure, I'm on board. But multiple day 2 picks, I don't think anybody, but again, besides Burden, is worth that.
Let's talk about Trey Harris, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss.
That's a thumbs up.
Okay, that's a player that we've looked at and talked about over the last month or so. And Maddie, you've talked about how this team doesn't have that big-bodied X-type player, someone that can line up outside, play against man coverage well, and win at the catch point, and run a slant and be tough in the middle of the field, and taking contact from a safety closing. Do you think there's a chance that he's there at 63 for them?
I do. I mean, I think 4.58 is going to scare people off, and then I'm going to counter as soon as the Chiefs take him. Tell me which game that 4.58 shows up on, because I don't see it. I see this guy constantly running away from SEC defenders, right? So I'm okay with it. I don't think he's for every team, right? I don't think every team's going to want that type of wide receiver that has a little bit of a limited route tree, that's played quarterback in high school from Malik Neighbors, and he's still learning how to play wide receiver. I don't think every team's going to want that, but the Chiefs sure need that type of guy, right? So I think he makes a lot of sense for them. I would, run to the podium if he was there at 63. I would, even say, hey, maybe we should trade up just a little bit to get that kind of guy. So I like Trey Harris. I like the ball skills. I like the ball tracking downfield. I like what he presents as an athlete. Like, he does enough things that Andy likes: the yards after catch, the ability to get the ball in his hands and create plays, plus being a traditional X wide receiver, that I actually think he fits the need that I want and that every analyst wants to put on the Chiefs, plus the itch that Andy has that says you have to be a yak player.
Would you trade 63 and 133 to move up?
133. We fixed tackle. I'd consider it. Yeah. We're in my consideration. As long as I get to keep my other day 2 picks, I think I'm okay with that.
Well, so yeah, just giving you perspective on that gets you somewhere in that 55, 56 range to get up for Trey Harris.
Okay.
If you're using pick 63, that pick 164 that they just got from the Philadelphia Eagles, using that would get them up to pick 59.
I would want Jaden Higgins, I would want Jack Besh, and I would want Alec Aomaner all off the board if I was going to make that move.
Okay.
Potentially Kyle Williams too. I would want them off the board if I was going to go ahead and make that move, just because I think they're all similar enough that I almost would be willing to just sit it out and wait to take whichever one of those guys was available.
I do think there's some interesting, I think that tier of players, Alec Aomaner out of Stanford, you said Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. I think Jaden Higgins Higgins and Burden, I think, are the 2 next receivers that are going to get off the board here.
I think Jalen Knoll and Kyle Williams might sneak in there. They might compete with Burden to go next. I think the NFL is going to be like, hey, these slot guys that can separate, we like them a lot. So I don't know. That's what I feel.
How would you feel about Elijah Arroyo, Harold Fannin, Gunnar Helm? I know
All
those
different
are,
players.
They're all different players, I know, but how would you feel about that pocket of tight ends? We all have third-round grades in the KCSN draft guide. I believe you put 3s on all of them except for Arroyo. I think you put a 2 on. How would you feel about any of those 3 being the pick at 63?
So I have moved Arroyo and Fannin up to a late 2 for me, and then Gunnar Helm's a mid 3. So I do think there's a gap there between them. I think late 2, not trading up, but late 2 for any of those tight ends plus a Mason Taylor, I think would be okay. At Gunnar Helm, I would like to wait on. That's a 95 pick to me at best.
Okay.
I think there's a chance that he's just okay. Like there's a chance. I feel like he's just more okay than like starter. But like you tell me they collect Harold Fannin at 62, 66, or Elijah Arroyo. I'm not overly excited like it's a perfect value, but that's about where I'd want them, and that's about where I think the Chiefs should try to take them. They offer 2 entirely different things. Arroyo's a little bit more of a vertical player. He's going to go out there and run more Travis Kelce type routes. I mean, Harold Fannin does it too, but it's just a different style, right? He's not going to win downfield as much. You're going to put the ball in his hands and let him create after the catch a little bit more because he's somehow really good at that, despite running with the weirdest gait you've ever seen. So I like all these players you've mentioned. I have them currently stacked Mason Taylor, Harold Fannin, then Elijah Arroyo, then a gap, then Gunnar Helm. All guys, you asking me about all these guys. Can I ask you about some guys?
Sure.
Let's get away from offensive weapons.
Well, let me ask one more offensive weapon question. Really
Fine.
Would you trade up at all for Quinshon Judkins or Travion Henderson?
I have a pretty big gap between those 2 of my next running backs. I don't know if that gap matters enough.
Okay.
I don't know. I know trading up for a running back. Again, it's got to be a day 3 pick that I'm trading up. I'm definitely not using 2 day 2 picks to go get a running back.
Okay. So, work with me here.
I'm working.
Would you pick swap 63 and 66 to get up to pick 50 for one of those running backs and then get picked? So I'll use Seattle. When I did my mock draft scenario, I said, let's go 63 and 66 for pick 50 and pick 82 from Seattle.
I wouldn't hate it, but if I'm going to go up for that, I'd rather have a pass rusher.
Okay. Well, let's get into the pass rushers then.
Exactly.
You want to ask me some questions about the pass rushers? Is my guess. So let's go.
I'm not going to ask you so much on trades as much.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you more to stack some guys that I think that you think the Chiefs would be interested in on day 2 here. We've talked about Mike Green. We've talked about Donovan Ezeraku a little bit. I think we think both those guys should probably go pretty early.
Yes.
Here on day 2. Okay, here it is. Landon Jackson, defensive end out of Arkansas. Big, long, athletic freak coming out of Arkansas. Nick Scorton. You almost messed me up with the Scourton thing, okay? No, Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M had a better year as a sophomore at Purdue than he did at Texas A&M, where he added some weight. And then, the Braden Swanson out of LSU, he's a guy getting a lot of extra hype, right? Those 3 guys, how do you kind of rank them? Do you think the Chiefs would be interested in all 3 of those guys, and where are you looking at for them? Landon
Jackson is the number 1 option and target for me of those 3 with a bullet. No,
you're a big Scorton guy.
I've soured a little on Scourton as Maddie Lane walks up. I've softened my stance a little bit on him. I think what more I watch, I get how you could see, the frame, the measurables, the testing, the story. A 20-year-old player that was really good at Purdue, played heavier than he needed to, and then kind of, I think, there's a case to be made. You could, might be a better fit than, but more I watch him, the more I've kind of aligned with you, the way he plays probably isn't Spagsy enough.
Okay.
Shooting a gap. So I would say Landon Jackson is a much better fit for Steve Spagnuolo. And I've come around on him a lot more too, as just a, big, dense defensive end. He kind of played, he played reduced a lot and, played the run well. And he's got the ideal frame, and like you said, good athleticism. I mean, he's a little stiff, but that has not stopped. That's not stopped the Chiefs at all. And it's almost like that's how they like him. So yeah, no, it's Landon Jackson number 1 with a bullet for me right now. Scourton probably 2nd, and then Braden Swanson is probably 3rd for me.
Okay. Landon Jackson's your number 1 defensive end, right? He's your top edge rusher besides the 2 guys, Donovan Ezeraku and Mike Green that we mentioned. This is
JT Tuimoloau.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot he was still available too. Yeah, no, those 3 guys are a different tier.
I'd take JT Tuimoloau over Landon Jackson.
Yeah, that's fair.
But both of those are slam dunks.
Yeah, sure. Let's go defensive tackle. Darius Alexander out of Toledo. A little bit of a combo guy, pass rusher a little bit. And I don't want to say nose tackle, but he could probably get by with some one technique stuff because he's got the size. Alfred Collins, pure nose tackle. TJ Sanders, Shamar Turner, CJ West, a whole host of guys. I don't need you to stack them all. Just where would you kind of put them in relationship to Landon Jackson? Are they all behind him? Are they kind of mixed in the middle of there? Where would you go to tackle over a Landon Jackson?
I think Darius Alexander might be my number one player over. JT. It'd probably go JTT, and then Landon Jackson and Darius Alexander are right there for me.
Okay, that's fair.
I really like, and I don't really like old prospects very often, but Darius Alexander's tape, if he was 22 years old, he's already gone.
So good.
He's off the board already, but he's a 25-year-old kid. But like watching him, his movement skills for a guy his size absolutely dominated the MAC. You're seeing him drop in coverage with ease, and his movement skills are special. So if he was 22, if he's 23 years old, he might be a first-round pick. So I think it's Darius Alexander, JTT, and Landon Jackson right there. I think Alfred Collins I makes a ton of sense here, just drafting and investing in big dudes, and getting, investing in the trenches. Like, that's a fun investment in the trenches. Yes, he's an older prospect too. He's 24. He's already 24.
Yeah.
But length, size, density, he's a true one tech, plays the run well. A little bit of pass rush juice there. Like, you could keep him on the field sometimes there. I think he'd be a great compliment to Chris Jones. You got a lot of length, you got a lot of size in there, and you got a guy that can kind of erase that. He's gonna be up there for me. I'm not as excited about a TJ Sanders. CJ West, I would be more excited about than TJ Sanders at this point.
I'm gonna throw I don't want to say curveball, but like Shamar Turner, defensive tackle at Texas A&M. I'm putting him in there. I think he's a round 2 guy. I think the upside there is incredible. I think Joe Cullen being at the Texas A&M Pro Day, I'm not saying it means a lot, but he got to see him in person. It could be for any of the defensive ends that we've talked about throughout the past 2 days, but I do think Shamar Turner's a little bit of a sleeper. I don't think you can sit around till 95 to snag him. So if you're looking at him and you say, we love the physical profile, we love the pass rush upside that he has, we know he's played while hurt, and the injury's fine. Like, he's played through it, so he can continue to play, but there's been some injuries that he's played hurt with. Shamar Turner might just be a little bit of a sleeper for somewhere in the 60s. Like, right, he might be a guy they take in the 60s, and like, out of all these guys we're talking about, I love Darius Alexander. I'm with you. I like Alfred Collins. I think he's a great fit. I like CJ West. Shamar Turner's upside's higher than all those guys. He's younger.
Yes.
Better upside. His upside's higher than any of the defensive ends we've mentioned in this process.
I agree. I watched him. I put him on the last couple of weeks, and like, I'm lockstep with you. Like,
there's shortcomings. There is. Like, they're there. He's 290 pounds, and they made him play nose tackle at that weird defense, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's difficult to do, but you see the flashes. The guys that are his size don't have the lateral agility he does. They don't have the length that he does. So I don't know. He's just a guy I think you got to keep your eye on if you're a Chiefs fan. Just like Shamar Turner might be a sneaky guy. It's a little bit lower on a consensus board. I mean, I got to go. I'll find him while you're talking where he's at on the consensus board and stuff like that. But he just might be a little bit lower than a lot of people are thinking.
I think that's a fun one as well.
He's down to 80. He's 80th on the consensus board. I don't think he's going to last till pick 80, right?
I don't think he's lasting. Are you sure he's lasting till pick 63?
Sure. No, I'm not. Especially the way with Tyleik Williams off the board already. I don't know if I am. So yeah, those are some pass rushers to keep an eye on as we start day 2 of this draft.
Only 3 corners go off the board in the first round. So, and we've talked about Will Johnson a little bit. Savon Ravel, Benjamin Morrison. There's some medical and some age concerns there. Azariah Thomas, the concern is the athletic testing with the long speed. But tape's really good. Also 20 years old today on draft day. High regard from Florida State as a high character player.
Yep.
If I'll ask you about Azariah Thomas at pick 63. How do you feel? Is it still just the long speed, or are you going to be happy?
No. I'm fine with the 4.6 corner at that point that has his tape. Right at that time, AZ Thomas at that time, late round 2. Even though he runs a 4.6, I'm okay with that guy. He's physical. He does a good job of slowing wide receivers up in the route. I'm absolutely okay with that guy at that pick. I think that's a good pick. Is he my favorite corner that's left? No. But like at that time, I think that's more of the value where I think a guy that might have his athletic limitations or scheme limitations should go. Now, the guy you didn't mention, Trey Amos, is still available. Yeah. I think he's one of the cleanest cornerback prospects. No injuries, no off-field concerns. He's played good at Bama. He's played good at Ole Miss. He can play man. He can play zone. He has ball skills. He checks a lot of boxes. I'm actually a little surprised he didn't sneak into round 1 when we saw a lot of other quote-unquote safe picks come off the board. he's a safe pick.
Yeah.
Right. So like I'm a little surprised he's still available. If he keeps trickling down the board, he's an intriguing guy. I think he goes pretty early on day 2, but he's another one I'm interested
in. And we'll get out of here after we talk about corners.
Sure.
But when I look at this pocket of cornerbacks, I know it's not the highest priority for you.
Sure.
But man, some of these guys, like, it's hard to say. Like, I would love to see, Johnson, Ravel, even Morrison, Thomas, Amos, Noel Williams. If any of those guys are 66 or 63, I'm excited.
For sure. I think running backs and cornerbacks are going to come off the board pretty early on day 2. That's just my general thought right now. I've said it for a while. I think running backs are coming off the board. I think cornerbacks are going to join them because I'm with you. I think there's good talent there. I think there's value to be had, right? So I do think you're going to get a little run on cornerbacks. I think you're going to get a run on running backs before the Chiefs come up the bat. And it's just a matter of who do you feel comfortable enough trading up for? Of all these corners we mentioned, who is the one you would trade up for? Do you feel good enough to trade up for any of them? Or would you rather just see which one of that bucket falls?
Trey Amos in a trade up.
Okay.
AZ Thomas in a small trade up for me personally.
Okay.
Savon Ravel.
So you'd consider trading up for almost all of them, which is fair. Then that's fine.
Do. I think there's value. The value at corner is really good, and that's where I'm paying attention. Like I feels like there's good value falling there, and that's really hard not to.
It's certainly there.
It's certainly there. So we're gonna see what the Chiefs do. They have a lot of ammo. It's gonna be a lot of fun to see what the Chiefs do with their day 3 or day 2 picks, and every single pick of the 2025 NFL Draft is on KC Sports Network.
Woo!
We're looking at it from the lens of the Kansas City Chiefs, and we're doing it for every single pick. I think we're the only people going live for every single pick here. So please come hang out with us while we're doing this show. We appreciate the support. We're doing the fundraiser for Therese, but we are really excited to continue to do this tomorrow. Can't wait to see what the Chiefs are able to do. That is going to do it for this edition of the KCSN Draft Show. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you later.